Hey everybody, it's Eugene Liscio here and welcome to Click 3D. This is the program where we talk about photogrammetry, laser scanning, hardware, software, and every now and then we get to interview some pretty cool people. Now today what I thought I would do is talk about virtual tours and how they can be used in a forensic setting. And in particular, I'm going to be working with FARO Scene and the Scene2Go app, which allows you to package all the scan data with media or photos and stuff like that, and then put it out and give it to somebody on a USB key so that they can run. And the things I'm going to be covering really are just some things initially that you should think about before you start a project, especially if you know you're going to be doing it, or if you're going to be doing a virtual tour. The second thing is, how to actually do that, or actually, what buttons to press in the software to make it happen, how to attach media. And then finally, we'll go into the virtual tour and I'll show you some of the settings and some of the little things that you can do. So this may not be an overly long video, so hopefully it's succinct and I'm going to get right to it. So the first thing that you need is a scan project, obviously. So we need to scan some things, we need to collect the data. And before you are jumping into something and just saying, hey, we're just going to go ahead and capture data, you should always think about what you're going to be doing on the back end. And so if you're going to be scanning something just really quick because you want to capture some data like at a crash scene and maybe it's not all that serious, you would take 2 or 3 scans, no big deal. But if it's something that's really serious and you think that this is going to go to trial and maybe you want to have like a virtual tour so that a jury can see it or whatever, you may want to approach it in a slightly different manner. And the best example I can think of is like Google Street View or Google Maps. When you're inside of the Street View, you know that you can go from one position to the next position, but you can't go in between. And so the step size between the one position and the next position is kind of important. So when we are scanning, you have to think about if you want to take finer steps by doing more scans in between 2 locations, or if you can take a big step where it may not be all that important. So that's one thing right off the bat that you want to keep in mind. The other thing is things like color. Like, are you going to be capturing color? It's always nice for people to see the colors of, daytime, nighttime, or whatever. Now, of course, if it's pitch black outside and you don't have a lot of lighting, then it's not going to help you all that much because the camera that are on a lot of the scanners aren't that great unless they're external cameras or they have a really, really good sensor. So those are some things you should think about, and then, there's other things like resolution and the density and, the scans and things like that, depending on what's going on. Now, I'm not going to get into registering these all together and everything else. I have a project already that has been put together. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to jump right in here and really just start talking about what it is that we need to do. Now, I've already done this project, so you can see that there's labels like evidence 1, evidence 2, evidence 3. There's even 4 and 5 over here. And this is a project that has 7 scans. So it started from here and wraps around the building and with the final position just down here. So what I'm going to do, the best way to do this that I have found is inside of the planar view, so the unwrapped scan view. Now you can do this from just about anywhere, but I just find it's cleaner by working with a single scan at a time. So you just right click on the scan, you go view, and then you go to planar view. So I'm inside the scan right now, and you can already see that I have one of these placards here with evidence 1, and there's one over here, evidence 2, and there's actually some more here that I did in other scans. So when you're in the planar view, you don't see all of the others, but you do see the scan positions here. So 7, 6, 5, 4, and 3. Okay, so this is really simple, and I'm going to blow right through this. You can always rewind the video if you missed it, but it's pretty quick. All you need to do is click on this button here that says annotation. I'm going to click on it, and you choose where you want to place it. And basically what it's doing is it's picking off an XYZ coordinate. So let's say I pick to the left of this placard. Boom, you get this window that comes up. So what's important about this window? Well, a couple of things. The first one is if you go under the General tab, you can name this. Now I already have one there, but let me just call this EV1. And when you are naming this, no spaces. Okay, if you need a space, put an underscore, put a dash or whatever, but no spaces. Back to the documentation properties here, you'll see it gives you the XYZ coordinate where it was placed, and then you can place a description here. So I may call this mock crime scene in the snow. right? And that's fine, so you can place whatever here. And then it says hyperlinks. Okay, so what am I going to add? So this is where I can add the media. Now I can attach images, I can attach videos, I can attach PDFs, I can attach documents. I can pretty much attach just about anything that can be recognized on somebody else's computer, which raises an important point. If I put a file type there that has an extension that is a little weird, like maybe some movie files might have a DAV format or something that isn't understood by most computers, then you can't expect somebody to play this automatically. They're probably going to get an error or something like that. But things like JPEGs, PDFs, documents, and whatever, like that's pretty common on most computers, so you shouldn't really have an issue there. Now the way that this works is pretty simple as well. You see where it has the ... down here? I'm just going to click on that, and I already had it defaulted to this directory, so I can click on any of these images. I'll click on number 1 and go open. Now it populates this field here with the path, but what I need to do, I don't just click OK, I have to click add. So where it says hyperlinks, you have to make sure that this is listed here. And then what I can do is I can go back and I can attach more than one piece of document or media, whatever. So now if I do number 2 and I go add, so now I've got 2 items here. And you can put 3, 4, 5, you can put different ones at this particular location if it's important. And then you would just click OK. So if I click OK, you'll see now I have EV1. Now I've already got one here called evidence 1, so this is not really all that important to me. So I'm just going to delete it. I'm going to right click here and hit delete. And you'll see that I've got 1, I've got 2, and then if I go to the next scan, which is number 3, and I go right click view planar view, you'll see that I've got a few more here. So there's evidence 3, and there's evidence 4, and then in the next scan over here, I've got another one over here, which is evidence 5. So let's say you got all of this package, it's all ready to go. You've put all your attachments and everything else. How do we get the Scene2Go package? It's really, really simple. And if you click on the apps button that's in the top right here, you'll switch to the apps window, let's call it, and a whole bunch of these things will populate right here. So I have one here that says Scene2Go, and I'm going to go to the drop down. And basically this is 2 steps. You're going to click on create Scene2Go, and after that you create it, you're going to transfer it. So let's go ahead and create it. I'm going to go create. Now it thinks that I made some changes, so I'm just going to go, yeah, go ahead and save, and I'm just going to go Scene2Go and click OK. Great, it's successfully saved. Click OK. And now you get the export box here. So let me go through this briefly. And we're here where it says standard view and background color. So that's like the top-down view for all the scans, which is kind of like a map view. And you can choose the background color. So if I go background color and I just choose a dark color like black, that'll just be the background when I look at it. Now this is a single layer map, so this is outside. There's no ceilings, there's no roof or anything like that over us. But if you had a building or something and you did the main floor and you want to cut off the ceiling, you could apply a clip box and then cut that off, and that wouldn't be a problem. Also, in the case where you have multiple floors, and this came up in a case that I had that was a fire scene that had multiple floors in an apartment complex, then you could choose each floor and you'll have multiple clipping boxes here, and this will show up as kind of like layers, and you can turn some on or off as you need. So we're just going to use the single layer map. There's no problem there. And I'm going to jump right down to these checkboxes down here. So export images in HD, yeah, definitely. Export scan data in HD, definitely. Export color images, yes, and export grayscale. Now that's unchecked, but I'm actually going to put that on because that can be quite useful at times. I'll show you a feature where you can blend between color and grayscale or the intensity data. Okay, now the project settings tab. So here I can name this. I can call this the mock scene, let's say, and I can place a description here, mock scene in the cold, snowy weather. Okay. And then I've got keywords, which I can add. I'm not going to add any. Now, this particular scan or set of scans had GPS turned on. And when you have GPS turned on, it will automatically pull the latitude and longitude. But let's say this was an interior space and that you did not have the GPS available. So either if it was on, but it couldn't capture anything, or you're just in a space that it just can't connect to GPS. Well, what you can do is you can bring up Google Maps. Let me see if I can bring this up here. And what I'll do is I'll just go into Maps, And a quick way you can do this is, let's say, for example, I go to satellite view, and then, I don't know, let's say you're in a building here, there's a Home Depot, there you go, and something happened in like a particular corner. Wherever I right click here, okay, you'll see that I've got these two numbers that are at the top, and they're actually changing. So exactly where my mouse is here, I've got negative 79.54. If I go over here, 7544, so a little bit of a different number. So everywhere I click, you get a slightly different number, but you can copy that number just by hovering over it and left clicking, and you'll see it says copied to clipboard. So if I want, what I can do here is just type in those numbers. So let's say it was at a different location. I'll just place those numbers in here. I copy this one for the latitude, and then I copy the negative 79 and place it here for the longitude. I already have GPS. I don't need these. These are incorrect, so I'll just leave those there. And that's about it. And what I need to do now is just go ahead and click on export. Okay. Now I've already done this once before, so it says, hey, you've exported the data. Do you want to replace the existing file? I'll go, yeah, go ahead and replace it. So let's let it cook here. It's going to do its thing. It's going to create the panoramic images and everything else. And then when it's done, I'll come back to this. So we have successfully created the data, as you can see from the message box here, and I'm going to click on OK. So now nothing happens, and you're like, okay, what just happened here? I clicked OK, but I don't see anything. Well, the fact is that you have to do one more step, and you have to transfer the data. It's written to a temporary place, and if you click down and go transfer Scene2Go data, what I have to do here now is pick the location where I want to place this. So I'm going to click on this. I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to make a new folder, and I'm going to call this the crime scene in snow. And inside of this folder now, if I click OK and I click transfer data, it's very important, I should say this, that this is checked, copy all linked files. And so it will collect all of the JPEG images and the documents and everything else for you and place it in its proper location. I will say one thing here. If you are working over a network, sometimes you can run into a problem where it doesn't link to the files properly or whatever. So when you're first creating the links, it might be a good idea for you to collect all of the information that you want and just dump it into a folder that is temporarily on your desktop or on your hard drive somewhere that is local. And this way you should minimize the problem with it capturing or collecting or transferring any data. So I'm just going to go ahead and click on the transfer data. And so now it's taking all those temporary files. It's going to pick them up, collecting all of the linked files and such, and it's going to write it to the folder that I just made. And as soon as it is done, just like right now, it will pop open with this window. So you can test it by going open in Scene2Go, but usually what I do is I go to the folder and I check it out. So let me do that right now. Let me bring this up. So I'm going to go to my desktop, and I've got the crime scene in snow. So you see this folder that's right here, crime scene in snow. I'm going to double click it. And these are all of the files that are necessary to run the Scene2Go. Now, normally what I would do is if you go back here, it's this folder right here, okay? This one that says crime scene in snow. This is what you would copy to a USB key, to a hard drive, like a portable hard drive or something like that. Now, some people or agencies are still using CDs. Now, this will not run from a CD. It needs to be something which is a writable format. So like the USB key and a hard drive are. So if you're going to copy it to a CD, that should be okay. You should write it to a CD and then copy it again on another computer. You could run it from the other computer, but I don't believe you can run it. At least it was never like that before, where you can run it from a CD. So be warned in advance. So some things that I mentioned here was that you can just hand this to somebody, and what you have to tell them to do is jump inside this folder, and there are two files here. So one is this Mac command and one is this Windows batch file. And if I double click on these, depending on the system that I am on, that is what in fact will run the Scene2Go file or project. So I'm on a Windows, so I'm just going to double click on this Windows batch file, and here you go. So this is what comes up. So this part of the video may be helpful to someone who is on the receiving end of a Scene2Go file. So if it's somebody that's like an investigator that's never used this before or whatever, this video may be something you can provide them. So tell them to skip to this part of the video, and then they can watch from here on with respect to how to actually use this. So when you're looking at the Scene2Go interface here, the first thing that comes up is the map. The map will show up if you have GPS coordinates like we do in this particular project. This is the project folder here. You can just click on the thumbnail here to get it going, and there's some other things that are up here that you can do. So if I click on the thumbnail, or if I click on the overview, you'll probably end up at the same place, but I'm going to click on the project file, and you'll see that I've got the scan positions, which are these little icons here, and then I've got evidence 1, 2, 3. So I also have all of the attached media that shows up in this overview map. One thing to notice is that if you have a lot of scans and you start zooming out, it starts to combine the scans together. So if you're wondering, hey, what the heck is this? Like there's a 2, it's a different icon. If you zoom in, it just breaks the 2 scan positions apart. And that's basically what it is. Now, there's some other things here too. At the bottom here, you'll notice that there's like this little bar, and the color of these icons here for the scan positions are often based on elevation. So these scans are pretty much on the same elevation, very relatively flat area. So there's not going to be a big difference between these, but you'll find that, you know, if you have some kind of terrain with a mountain or whatever, and you wonder like why some are red and some are blue, it has to do with the elevation. And there are settings to control that. So let me start off by doing a few things in this particular window, and then we'll move on into the panoramic views and looking at the media that we've attached here or whatever. So one thing you can do is you can measure distance. So if I click on this, what I can do is I can go click, click, and then click on OK down here. So, oh, did it not do it? Let me just try this again. Measure distance. Click, 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 and then I go OK. All right, now for some reason it's not showing. Now I may have hidden this. Let me just check something. Okay, it's actually hidden. My bad. So I was doing this before and I was touching something. So I've actually got a bunch of things here. And the 2 things that I showed you was that you can do just 2 points, right? And then click OK, and you'll get a distance. But you can do multiple points as well. So I can do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You know, I can follow the whole path here. Maybe somebody walked a certain path and I want to know how long it is. If I click on OK, I get all the segment information, but I also get the total distance here, where it gives you the little epsilon. For the Greek letter epsilon here, you get the sum total. Okay, there's also measuring area. So if I want to go here and measure a certain area, it's just like a polygon. You just click, 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 and then I'm just going to click OK, and you can see that it shades it, and then you get the total area. Now I'm in meters squared. I'll show you where you can change that, and you can also delete some of these things. So if I go delete, let me see if I can highlight this. There we go. Highlight it. I just clicked on the actual label and then go OK, and it gets rid of it. Cool. Now we have scan view, but I'm just going to go over to project content. It gives you a whole bunch of information of the different scans and such like that. And then you can go into settings, general. This is where you can set the units. So if you are working in feet and inches or whatever, you can do it here. No big deal. And yeah, and that's pretty good. So back to the overview map. If you click up here, if you get lost, you get back to this particular view. So let me move into the position here for number 2. So if you click on the actual icon, you'll have this panorama view, you'll have a 3D view, and you'll have a properties. So if I jump into the panoramic view, this looks pretty cool. You can see that I've got nice color, a nice panoramic image, and I can see the scan positions. I can see where the evidence is, that with the photos and such like that. And there are a number of things that I can do here as well, and a lot of them are actually just down here in the bottom left corner, and that has to do with like visibility. So let me walk through some of those, and then we'll get to the media, but I'll do this pretty quick. So if you click on this, I have these icons that turn on. I'm going to click on the first one here, color mode. So if I click on it, you see it just jumped. If I click on it again, okay, it goes to intensity data. Some people call it grayscale. If I click on it again, now I have the ability to blend in between the intensity data and color. So if I just click this way or click on the other side, you see that it slowly transitions one way or the other. And this is kind of cool because if you look down on the ground at some things, you'll notice that some things will pop out at you, and when you go back to color, they just kind of disappear. They don't blend in the same way. So sometimes it might be useful to pick up a piece of evidence or something like that. So kind of fun. You can go in between here. And that's why I checked the intensity data when we were first creating this project. It was unchecked by default, but make sure you check it and you will definitely have this option. Show the properties, so you can show the properties of the scan here. It shows you some stuff. Go back to scan view. Then we have the show in overview map. So you have this little like a picture-in-picture kind of thing, and you can maximize it here. And you'll see that as I turn around, it updates the way that it's, or the position that it's looking. And if I zoom in and out, you'll see it updates the field of view as well. So you can swap these. So you can get this in the background and this in the foreground, and you can work from here if that's useful to you. So there's different ways you can do this, and I'm just going to close the view here, and I'm going to go back to scan view. There are other things like the compass. So down in the middle here is a compass, and you can just shut this off or on. It is working, so I'm going to leave it on there. I think it might be useful. And the other one is this visibility, and this is a good view actually to do this in. Let me zoom out a bit, and if I click on this, now, you'll see here that I have labels and it says 15 meters. So I can increase or decrease this. So you'll see I have evidence 5, it's a label. You'll see I have evidence 3, which is a label, evidence 2. So if I decrease this, what happens is any items or any of these text items which fall outside of 15 meters, they will not become visible. So if as I tune this down, you'll see number 3 when I'm only at 5 meters from the scan position. The only one that's visible is number 2 and then number 1. So these are very useful, and the reason is if you have a very tight space like in a small apartment and there's a lot of scans or whatever, then it just becomes cluttered. You see all the scan positions and all the different types of media or icons that are there. So this helps to clean it up so you don't get a lot of stuff that it's sort of sitting on top of each other. The same goes with measurements. You can turn this down if you just want to see the closest measurements, and these are the scan positions. So you see here I've got number 4. If I want to see all the scan positions, I need to increase this, and soon you'll see that they populate. So now I've got 7, 6, 5, 4. I've got them all, but let's say I only want to see 2 or 3 of them here, and then I would turn this down. So I've got it to set to 30 meters. So it just depends on what you have and what it is that you want to have visible or not. Okay, next what you can do here is go to the 3D view. So all I really have to do is just click this 3D button up top, and then you'll see that it jumps into the point data. Now, there are some ways to, it kind of works the same way. You can just rotate around, click and drag, but you can also move just like in a game engine. And a quick way is just to look at the arrow keys, and you can just kind of like move in and out, left and right. And there are some other hotkeys where you can do some different things. If you're a gamer, you know the WASD keys will get you around. Okay, that's a quick way. Or let's say I want to get to this this point here, I can just double click, and then what'll happen is it'll zoom in pretty quick to where I need to be. Now you'll notice that there's only one scanned here, so I don't see the whole project with all the different scans. It's just one particular scan, and maybe one day FARO will get this working so that we get the whole project point cloud or all the separate scan point clouds in here so that you can see them all at once. But at the moment it's just one scan at a time. So I'm going to check this again, and basically I'm into the the panoramic view here, and that pretty much gives me just about everything that I need. So that is pretty much it for Scene2Go. It's a great tool if you want to pass it on to an attorney, a prosecutor, your colleagues, another expert witness, investigators as well. And that's because it's a complete documentation package. And what's great is that all of the links are in their proper place. So, wherever you find evidence, you have a location for it. If there were swabs, if there were reports that were based on, different types of evidence that are here, you can append those reports in there as well. So a really, really fantastic tool. Not a lot of effort, as you can see. It's just a couple of button clicks, and it's really easy to do. And I think it's super valuable. It's one of the great things that you can do with scan data, a great deliverable, no matter what. Now, I should say that there are other ways to produce these kinds of virtual tours. You can do them from 360 cameras. You can do them from other types of scan data. Really, really useful. And there's a bunch of products out there right now. And maybe in the future, I'll do a video on a few more of these. But that's pretty much it. So thank you very much, everyone. Thanks for watching Click 3D, and I hope to see you on the next one. Bye-bye.